Blog Talk Radio.
Hey, what's going on out there, good people? This is your people at GFT Radio Show, Grown Folk Talk Radio, Thursday nights. You know how we do it every Thursday at 10 p.m. We have open discussion. I'd like to introduce my co-host. We have J. Rowe. What's up, J. Rowe?
What up, everybody?
We got Sonny.
Hey, guys.
And I believe we got Willie Styles on the line.
Hey, how's everybody doing tonight?
All right. So tonight we're going to have a good discussion. Phone lines open up at 10:15. The phone number is 657-383-1155. That's 657-383-1155. Y'all can hit us up on our Twitter, GFT_radio. Hit us on our Facebook at GFT Radio. And if you're listening now, you're already on blogtalkradio.com/GFT Radio Show. So tonight, we're going to talk. We got a couple things we're going to talk about, but we're going to dive into the use of the N-word, its power, and who should be allowed to use it, or should we stop using it altogether? I know when I was away last week, at the day after, I believe it was Friday, me, Sonny, and J. Rowe was having a discussion through a text message, and we was talking about this particular topic. And, you know, me and J. Rowe had different opinions. He said we give the word too much power. I believe it was an officer posted, a female officer posted a pic. Am I correct, J. Rowe?
That's correct.
And she used the word nigger in the caption, and I believe she lost her job for that act. I forget what actually they called it. I think conduct unbecoming of an officer. I believe that's why she lost her job. So I want to throw it to J. Rowe, and I want him to give his opinion on it.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, originally we saw that post, the police officer, the female police officer in Pennsylvania somewhere. She posted that picture on her Snapchat, and the caption on the picture said, "I'm the law now, nigga." And it was a lot of people that was happy that she lost her job for that. Like I say, I had different opinions as to me personally didn't see anything wrong with that. My opinion on that was I'm pretty sure that there are plenty of other worse things that she could have said. People are saying that she was wrong because she was a police officer and she posted that picture. But and my question to some people was, if she wasn't an officer, would you have considered her being wrong? And some people are still saying yes. Like I say, in my opinion, I have friends being in the Army. I mean, I got Asian friends, I got black friends, white friends, Spanish friends, all kind of things. And I mean, we get called. I mean, even though it's said in a jokingly way, we get called even worse than that sometimes. And in my opinion, I don't think she was wrong. I mean, her to get fired may have been a little extra. I know some people were saying they would have preferred her to just have been suspended or something like that. But people are saying, you know, because she's a police officer and the way that things are going nowadays with police and the whole black people and the Black Lives Matter, that she should have known better. Of course, she should have known better, but to have been fired over that, I don't see that. I can't agree with that.
Okay, I respect that. Sonny, how you feel about it?
I want to say this first. The lady who posted this was a white female from wherever she was. I didn't look into where she was from. I didn't really look into her job, losing her job. I don't think she should have lost her job. I think she should have been reprimanded. She should have known better, especially like Gabriel said, people were saying about what's going on with the tensions with the police. I don't think I don't want to say it's a race thing, but it is because she said something that was considered racial. And I just think we do give that word power, but I just think it was wrong because I just wouldn't, that's like me calling a white person a cracker. I think that's racist. That would make them feel like I would say it in a mean way to a white person if I felt some type of way. So I just think certain words are considered racist depending on who you're talking to. So I just don't think she should have used those words. I don't think she should have posted that and said that. Do I think she should have lost her job? No, but understandably in what's going on with police and a lot of black people or police and people, period, and, the racial tension, I just think that was poor judgment on her behalf, and she should have been reprimanded for what she did. I don't think she should have got fired, but, you know. I just don't think that people should be using that. I don't think that people that are not, I don't think that black people should use it, but I do use it. I just don't think people that are not black should be using it. Latinos may get a pass, but I don't know.
All right. Willie, how you feel?
So I'm on that side where I do look at it as a racial issue. I do look at it as a very exclusionary type thing. You know, I don't think anybody, and I look at the two sides of it, of the type of words that you use. So, you know, if you're using the N-word with the ER versus the N-word with the GA, I'm that guy, right? I'm that guy that says, hey, GA is okay if you're black. GA is okay if you're Latino. I'll give you a pass if you're Latino. I'll give you a pass if you're Asian or Polynesian and you're or you know from the islands and you're in the hood. So I'm that guy that says it's okay at that point. I'll give you a pass because you're in this with us. But if you're Caucasian and you're making any use of either N-word, I feel like you don't have that right. You don't have that ability to just use that because this is my feeling behind it. You don't understand the struggle with that word. The word itself has so much negativity behind it that the power that we give it is what's important, right? Because I think the ER version is the word that you have to take power away from. The GA version is where we've taken the word from them and said, look, we're not going to give it the power, the negative power. We're going to give it a positive spin, right? I don't really like to use it. I try my best to exclude it from my vocabulary. I have friends that use it constantly. So in that circle, you know, I might let it come out. I might let it slide. You know, I don't chastise those guys for it. But I feel like it's something that is exclusionary. It is. It's a double standard. I understand. I don't care. It's something that you cannot just throw around. It's like Sonny said, it's, you know, white people don't want to hear me say cracker. They don't want to hear that, you know.
Exactly.
You know, and that's a very, I mean, I will put cracker in the same terms as the N-word with the ER because I feel like it's a negative connotation that's built to bring down a people. There's no positive method of using that word. Now, I've heard some of my friends, some of my Caucasian friends use the word white trash. Now, they use that in a positive sense. And like they're call their friends that, not positive in a completely positive, but you know, like
the way we use niggas.
How you say motherfucker, or you say
exactly.
In a playful way, they'll use white trash in that way, and I have no problem hearing them call each other that. I'm not going to use that word. I'm not going to call a white man or a white woman that word. You know, I'm not going to use that because I feel like it's exclusionary. I should never use that against my white friends or in a because I think that's something that they share as a people. It's not for me. Just like I don't feel like they should be using the N-word with the GA. That should not be for them. They have to leave that out of their vocabulary. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Now for me,
losing her job, I feel like that's kind of extreme because I don't think she did it maliciously. I honestly, because I'm looking at the post, I'm looking at her stance on it. It wasn't like she was like aiming at anyone in particular. I think she was just comfortable in what she said.
That's where we differ. I completely agree with her. That's why I differ from all y'all. I completely agree with her losing her job. For the simple fact, for everything y'all just stated, that the climate we're in at the moment, with all the police brutality, the Black Lives Matter, the contentiousness between the police and black people right now, when she makes that post and says that, to me she's saying she doesn't care. You feel me? Like it doesn't bother her. She don't care how anybody feels. She don't care about the reaction. Like she didn't care about the reaction because if she did, she wouldn't have posted it.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So so if you don't care and you're in that position of authority, you know what I mean? In my mind, in my eyes, you look down on us.
Right.
You feel me? So when you pull one of us over, you feel me? In your mind, that's just a nigga.
Yeah.
Because you so comfortable, you that comfortable with using it, you don't care.
So
you don't care about your position of authority. You know what I mean? And yes, you are. When you're in that position of authority, you are held to a higher standard. Like you can't avoid that.
Sure.
You feel me? You can't avoid that.
I completely agree. I mean, I guess in my area, in my part of the world, we live in a area where it's the diversity is rich, right? So there's whites living in the hood, there's Latinos, there's they're Arab, but we have a particular set. They're the Chaldeans. So we all live together, right, in this community, and so certain people get a pass, you know, when it comes to how we interact, right? So if a Latino person uses says the N-word with the GA, that's no issue. Now, if they use the ER, it depends on who they're talking to, right? Because some people will let it go because they'll feel like it's a playful or it's a joke. I personally don't feel like anybody, not even black people, I don't like black people to say that. Using the GER, I'm like, no, that's not a joke. You don't joke like that. There's no reason to. But I'm also over 30 years old. I'm also, a descendant of the civil rights era, from people who lived through that. So it's different for me. But, people allow that kind of comedy or whatever they want to call it. But the thing is that I do have a Caucasian friend who uses the GA, and I do chastise.
I don't like that.
I do chastise him for it, but I don't make him feel bad for it. I mean, sometimes I feel bad for not making him feel bad, but I say, hey, he's comfortable in it because people do allow him to say it. There are certain people who will allow him to say it because he's from the hood, because he lived through the same things that they lived through. So they don't see the color, they see the struggle, right? So I think that from this point of view, my point of view is I think she needs to understand, not to say she needs to understand her place in society, she needs to understand the situation that she's put herself in. I think she needs to realize the sensitivity that she's not conscious of, because I think where what she's failed at is she's failed to realize that there's a political atmosphere that she's living in. The same exact thing that you're saying, I'm saying the same exact thing that you're saying is that she does, but what it is she doesn't realize the political atmosphere that she's living in, where she has to be conscious and careful. She can't use terms. She can't use the same mindset and thought process that she did before Mike Brown. Before, I was just in a meeting just now where we were talking about, and at my job, we were just talking about the area we live in. We're living in a post Mike Brown society where if you make the wrong statements or you do the wrong things in this atmosphere, you will be punished accordingly to this atmosphere. Nothing to do with the situation, but the atmosphere. You'll be made an example of. And that's what you're saying, is that make an example of her.
Exactly.
I disagree with you. I'm just saying that in my personal opinion is that it's extreme, because you're saying let's punish her based on the atmosphere. Had it been pre-Mike Brown, I think everybody would have taken a different stance. We'd have just said suspend her, give her diversity training, and then put her back on the streets. But let me
ask you all this now.
We're saying, hey, no, we're not giving you a pass at all. You have to be fired. You have to be put out there and ostracized and made an example of.
let's switch it around though. Now let me ask J. Rowe, what if the roles were reversed? What if if it was a black man, you know what I mean, saying cracker, a black officer? How do you think they would have responded?
I believe it would have been the same way. It would have been a whole bunch of white people out there protesting and saying that he needs to lose his job. And things like that. It definitely would have been.
No.
It definitely would have been.
No, J-Roll, let's be for real. I bet you any kind of money, there would have been a few white people had, but there's nobody that called that black man's job. They would have been comfortable with him being suspended and put back on the street. They would have not been. It would have not been the same. I horribly disagree with that. That it would have been to this point. It would have been like he should be reprimanded. He should have a mark in his. This is how white folks would have said it. They'd have like he needs a mark on his record that he did, and we need him to be made aware that we are upset with him and. When we see him in the streets as an officer, because we're going to still see him in the streets.
So write him a strongly worded email.
That's it. They would have never made it. They would have never made it a big deal. I mean, white folks have a different viewpoint. They're not mad. They know us saying cracker is not affecting them. They know us saying certain things or doing certain things has no effect on their day to day. It has no effect. We cannot be racist. We can be prejudiced. We cannot be racist. I mean.
Yeah, that's fact. That's fact. Now,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Let me ask you this though. Okay, what if? Let's switch it around. What if it's just a black officer, say a regular black officer, you know, say she was black, and she said the exact same thing. You see what I'm saying?
Right. It would have been ignored. It would have been ignored.
You think it would have been ignored? You don't think they would have hit her with conduct unbecoming?
No,
I don't think so, and not right now. No, because then it would have been like she was like who she was offending because she's black. Like I mean, I get what you're saying to a certain extent, but I don't think they would have just. Did you open it back to the drawer?
They would have double standard and said, "Look, it's good." They would have still had a conversation with her. I think they would have had a conversation in this atmosphere. You're saying in this atmosphere, I would say they would have a conversation with her and say, "Look. As an officer, you do not say this. As an officer, you do not put this image out on behalf of this city's police force." They would still have to have a conversation with it. So I do agree that there would still be a conversation because that had to be had, but they would not. She would not have lost her job if she would have been black. If she'd have been Latino, I don't know. I personally don't know what the outcome would have been because I'm trying to remember, and I was going to try to look it up. I do remember a Latino officer or somebody Latino said something off, and they got in a lot of trouble. They got in a lot of hot water behind it, and I felt like it was over the top because they're Latino, but people had some feeling some kind of way, and they went to that extreme. But I think that as a black woman, if she'd have been a black woman, I think it would have been swept under the rug.
Okay. All right. I can dig that. I think so too, honestly. I think want nothing to happen to her. So J. Rowe, I will ask you, because we were saying this too, like you said the power, I mean the word, the N-word has too much power. Now I mean, like explain to me how you feel about that, like what you mean by that.
Exactly what you just said. You said I said the N-word has too much power. They got to we can't even say the N-word on the radio. We have to shorten it down and call it the N-word. You can't even say the word because without fear of hurting somebody's feelings or having some type of reprimand or something. It got shortened down to the N-word. You don't have people walking around and saying the G people or the L people or the T people, or the it got you can say gay, you can say lesbian, you can say transsexual, but you can't say that you got to shorten it down and say the N-word. Everybody's scared to say the word. You can't hear it on the radio, but you hear it in music all the time. You got to buy uncensored versions of albums and things in order to hear it. That word has way too much power to it. And I hate the fact that people say that they turned it around and turned it into a term of endearment and all these other things and how we use it so often that it's not like that, nothing like that at all. it's the N word. Nigga, I get mad at somebody and I'm like, yo, this nigga right here is acting crazy or whatever. But you scared to say it around certain people. You gotta watch it. You gotta watch it what you say at work. You gotta watch what you say around other people because you scared that you're gonna hurt somebody's feelings or offend somebody. It just, like I said, that word has too much power to it that it was used as a negative word back in the day, and then they turned it around, and now they're trying to turn it into something friendly. Like Willie was saying, I have an issue with that. Like Willie was saying earlier, you know, he has a white friend who uses the word because he grew up in the hood. I got a friend, I've been friends with him for 20 plus, almost 30-something years. And, I mean, he uses it freely around us. I mean, that's what he grew up around us his whole life. Like, that's my best friend. That's like my brother. I'd do anything for him. So he uses it. I don't have a problem with him using it. But Willie was like, you know, the Latinos can use it and the black people can use it and everybody else can use it. But if it comes down to a white person using it, it's just a regular word, another word. Like, I don't understand. Like, I understand why they say they can't use it, but to me, it just seems, I don't want to say childish, but it's kind of ridiculous that of all the words, it's just that one word that has all that power. Like I say, I mean, we can't even say the word. We got shortened down to the N word.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Willie.
I was about to say, I agree. When you said it was childish, I'm like, man, I agree. I do agree. It's childish to the point of it's just utterly, it's ignorant. It is ignorant that we have to be that way. But unfortunately, that's life, right? That's the world we live in, and it's you know, I mean, and I'll be 40 at the end of this month, and I'm like, I feel like all these years, before me even, you know, before the years I've been alive, before me as well, it's ridiculous to think that we have to assign a right to use a certain word to certain people, right? Because, like you said, it's just words. The reason I've gotten to the point where I've allowed it to be not acceptable, maybe, because I still have this conversation with my black friends. I say, look, you say this word and you use it as a term of endearment towards your brothers and towards your sisters, but we know where the origin of this word comes from, and we realize the use of this word as a means of tearing down our entire people, our entire existence. But we still allow it because we say, hey, we shut these letters and it makes it okay. The thing is that the reason I've come to this, you know, final conclusion that I'll allow it is that I think of it like this. There's certain languages, right? And everybody has a language. You know, we have, you know, English here in the United States. We have Spanish in Spain. We got French in France. Everybody has a different way of speaking. Before us, there was Aramaic, there was Hebrew, there was, you know, there's so many different languages, and everybody has their words, but it all comes down to just what you said. It's just words. And the thing is that if I don't understand the words that you're using, you have to give me a definition. And the definition that you give me is what I'll base the feeling behind that word. If the word has no feeling or it has no association to anything that I care about or that I have an emotion about, it's just a word, right? You know, if I tell you that the is just an indication or that the is just, you know, whatever, you accept it, right? But if I told you that the word the means that I'm putting you down, that it means you're nothing, that if I use the word the in a sentence, that's the most negative thing I can say to you, if you didn't know what the word the was, you would accept that because you'd be like, wait a minute, I don't know what that means, but this person just told me that this is the worst word in the world. So you're going to accept that, and you're going to start thinking that anybody that says the is a bad person. You know what I mean? So if a person doesn't understand that the word, you know, the N word with the ER is the worst word that you could say to a black person, because think about it, if you say that word to a white person, they're not going to think anything of it. Say that word to a white person and see what he says.
They're going to look at you like you're crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It means nothing in their point of view. In their world, it has no meaning. Besides, they know what their ancestors used it as. Not even their ancestors, their parents used it as. They know what their grandparents used it as. That's all they know. You say that to an Indian person, the Indian person is going to look at you like, look, bruh, I'm from India, and I have no clue what you're talking about. That means nothing to my people. That means nothing to us. You know, I forgot what the word is. There's a word you can use against an Indian person. It'll have them heated. And
yes, that's it. I think every race has their word that shouldn't be said. Like Chinese people don't like to be called chinks. White people like to be called crackers. Spanish people like to be called sticks. Like, it's so many things that you can say to somebody that might piss them off.
Right. So it's about the power. It is about the power. And the thing is, if we take the power away from the word, and the thing is that it's become acceptable to think that the GA version of the N-word is our way of taking that power away, right? And I fairly believe that we're one of the only races that have done that. That we've said, look, we're going to take this word and we're going to make it our own, but we're going to switch it up a little bit, just enough, so you still know what we're talking about, but we're going to make it our own. So I've accepted it as that, and I'm saying, hey, look, you know, I understand language, I understand.
So let me ask y'all, what do y'all think was the catalyst for it to be accepted in the black community? Was it music? Was it comedy?
It's culture. It's all about culture.
Culture.
People use that word to the point of exhaustion up until the late 1800s and early 1900s. And at some point, someone made the conscious decision to use that word in a positive sense and said, look, we're not going to let this break us down. And people started to accept it. I don't know when people started to accept it. I don't know what the timeline was, how long it took. But at some point, people started to say, look, we're not going to allow you to continue to break us down using this word. We're going to say, look, this is our lives. This is our livelihood behind this, and we're going to own this. You know, black people have a history of being strong. We have a very rich history of being very strong-minded, and saying, look, we're gonna own what we have. We own being poor. We own being in ghettos. We own that. Most races are. I mean, ask an Italian what they think about ghettos. Ghetto has nothing to do with being black. Most people get that misconception screwed up.
Exactly. Yes.
Ghettos come from Italian neighborhoods. But ask an Italian person what it means to them to live in a ghetto. They'll shoot you down to the point of arguing that they have no affinity to being in a ghetto. But that came from Italian neighborhoods. But black people owned it. Think about it. We're the only ones that say we're from the hood. And we mean ghettos. And it's our culture that builds that says, look, we are going to own this. We're going to make this a positive thing. We're going to say, look, we know what this means, but hey, it's our life. It's our livelihood. We got to deal with it. You know, we're going to make the most of it, and we're going to be successful at it. You know, people come out of it. People, you know, they owe their livelihood or their successes to it. You know, we just talked to Russell Simmons. Russell Simmons talked about being in the ghetto and being in the hood and needing an outlet and saying, look, I saw a need for my people that were from the hood, and I gave them an outlet. And he owned that. And that's what made him successful in life. We own even our negatives. We own them, you know. So it's culture. It's all about culture.
I just want to interject real quick. To those of you that are listening, you know, you want to share your opinions, we'd love to hear from you. Our phone number is 657-383-1155. That's 657-383-1155. Please give us a call. Now, I mean, we'd love to hear what the people out there thinking. Sonny, do you got anything to add?
Well, I just want to say, I want to get back to the question you asked about is it acceptable? I don't know if you asked it, but is it acceptable for my friends? I have white friends. I would never want to hear that come out the mouth. I don't care how cool we are. I just feel like that's something that I wouldn't, like I said before, I wouldn't call them a name that I felt that was offensive to them, so I wouldn't do that to, you know, want them to say that to me. So I just think that, so for me personally, I just think that's the line that shut me cross. But I don't just think, like, I agree that Latinos are more passable with saying it. You know, I'm okay with them saying it. I don't think Chinese people should ever call me a nigger or a nigger. I just don't think it should be said to me, or any black person for that matter. I just think that, like I said before, and I'll keep saying it, certain words are trigger words for any type of race. You can't just say that to them because it might set them off, cause them to get mad or feel offended. Like, you can't, like, you just certain things you just shouldn't do. I know that we probably call them, like, I know comics always been calling white people crackers for the longest. They got different shows they call them crackers, and white people sitting there laughing. Will I personally call a white person a cracker? No. Like, I wouldn't say get in an argument with them and call them a cracker. Like, that's just not, like, I want that because if they call me the N-word, I'm like, okay, now I'm pissed off too. So it doesn't, like, I just think that certain lines should be crossed. If I wouldn't say nothing derogatory to you, I don't think you should say anything derogatory to me. I don't think it's a game if you say it or you're still, oh, my bad. No, because I think if you let somebody slide that is a non-black person, whether they're white, whatever, and they say it around you and it's comfortable, what if you bring them around friends that are not okay with that? Then all of a sudden they're saying, oh, well, so-and-so doesn't have a problem with it. And it's like that person doesn't have a problem, but I have a problem with it. I feel offended. I don't, like, you know. So I just don't think it should be okay because you get people that are okay with that and think it's fine. And then they go around Jimmy and them get pissed off and it's about to punch them in the face because they just said something that Jim might, or Paul might have been okay with. But, like, you just shouldn't do stuff like that. That's just my take on it.
I can dig that. I'm not too keen. I had white friends that grew up in the hood, went through the struggle with and everything, and they still don't use that word. It ain't even about a fear thing or about them fearing something to happen to them or anything like that. It's just, I guess, common courtesy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know that. And that's what it comes down to, just common courtesy. They know where that word derived from. They know, you know what I mean, the pain behind it. So they not going to play with it. They understand that how we flipped it. You feel me? Even if it don't make sense to them, they still, you know what I mean, that's y'all. They can do that. They own that. We own that, so to speak. You feel me? So they won't never cross that line. You know? I got one boy, but I did meet some dude. He was, you feel me? He got white chocolate tattooed on him. You can't tell him he's not black. You feel me? I'm like, literally, you know what I mean? He said it one day while we was at work, and I checked him on it. You know what I mean? He was confused. He's like, bro, like, you feel me? He's like, I'm one of y'all.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's like, look at me. You feel me? Like, I rep y'all. You feel me? I ain't white. But you are.
You are. You are. So, your credit score is higher than mine. I'm going to need you to know that you're a white person.
Yeah, well, and you know, and this is my thing. When do we allow or disallow, right, them to be a part of our same? I won't say our same struggle because of course they still have an advantage, right? They have that visual advantage, right? But when do we allow or disallow them to be a part of the struggle, right? Because the thing is that we've gotten to a point now where I feel like we're back to where we were in the 60s, where we're back to struggling with civil rights issues. We're back to struggling with the right to be human. We're back to struggling with the right to equality, right? So when do we allow white folks to be a part of this struggle and to be a part of our issues and say, hey, they're having the same issues we have when they're in our neighborhoods or they're in our tax bracket or they're in our situations, right? I was reading an article a few months ago, maybe about 2 or 3 months ago, where the lady was taking offense, but I felt her. She was saying how her son or her nephew or whoever it was, the young man was gunned down by police, and the same man, like a Mike Brown, right? And the thing is that what she was heard about was the fact that she, like, the police were being just as unjust and just as bullying to her nephew or whatever it was as you know we have today. But there was people in the comments that were just not letting her be great about it. Like, look, they were saying stuff like, you know, oh, it's different, and oh, you know, we we go through this every day. You don't, and this kind of thing. It's like she went through it though. She had this issue. Her son was gunned down and killed over BS, over just being in the wrong situation or the wrong place at the wrong time, and the wrong place being around police, not around the ghetto, not around he was in the ghetto, but he was in the hood, but he wasn't doing anything in particularly wrong. He had a situation, but they couldn't tell that. The young man was 20-something years old. I think he was 20 years old and unarmed and gunned down. And it's like, why do we have to exclude her situation because she's white?
They shouldn't have. It's a police against people. It's not. And it's crazy because I had this argument with somebody. Well, I was not argument, disagreement on a website talking about it, and I'm just like, it's not like, and they were like basically saying all these black people getting killed, blah blah blah. We getting killed more than white people. I'm like, actually, that's not true. And they're like, yeah, yes it is. I'm like, no, it's not. Like, I'm going to check the facts. Well, white people facts. I'm like, okay, so we're going to go there. But I just feel like when it comes to police shootings, I don't see it as a color, I don't see it as a color issue. I just see it as a police issue. Like I said on shows, this is something that's happening more and more frequent by officers of different races that are killing people unarmed and for no just cause. So it's not at that point when it becomes situations like the police shooting that happen that people just getting killed left and right and just obscene, like loud and proud, excessive force is unnecessary, and it's on everybody. It doesn't matter what race you are. As the cops feel like you're wrong, you're wrong. Yeah, black people don't like cops. We have an issue with cops. We have a lot of bad run-ins, but at the same time, I don't like to judge every situation as this is all black people. It's not just all black people. Yes, black people are getting more publicized about what's happening because there's a lot going on. Like as a recent, there's a lot of black people getting killed by cops, but all these cops are not white. So
it's a victim mentality that black people have. I mean, like as a whole, I don't want to generalize all of us, but for the most part, black people as a whole share a victim mentality. So, nobody has it worse than us. You feel me? That's what we taught from beginning. You feel me? And that's because first thing we taught about ourselves is that we were slaves. Taught about ourselves that we were slaves, how hard we had it. We were beaten, we were killed. So already from the door, it's ingrained in us to have like a victim mindset.
Yeah, and it's one thing, and it's funny because I remember back when my old blog, I did a different spotlight on the Holocaust, and people were like, well, why are you talking about that? You're black. I'm like, that was a genocide, too, of a whole group of people.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and it was for years. They were killing people.
It was recent.
Yeah, and I'm like, it was crazy. And I'm like, I get that slavery is a big deal to black people, but it's so many other things that go on in the world that didn't involve black people. Like, I think, like, you can go back as far as the Indians. They were massacred to get the America. Like, come on, like, and that's what, and I agree with Clint. You get that victim mentality, and you just think that slavery is just the worst thing ever in history. It's so many other tragedies that happen in the history of, like, and I'm not discrediting slavery because, I'm not saying that that's, like, discredited, but you got to look at it like this. This is how I look at it. It may be wrong. I may be wrong. People might not agree with me. But with slavery, we were more likely to live. Yes, we got suffered. Yes, we were abused. Yes, we were raped. Yes, we were beaten and stuff like that. But when you look at the Holocaust, I'm not really trying to compare it to, but I just want people to understand, they were killed. Like, they were killed. They were put in gas chambers by millions.
Yeah, no, and that's one thing I loved about your articles that you did at that time is that it did reveal something that people didn't think about, is that those people, it wasn't even a chance given, because not that slavery was any less worse.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
slavery was a lifestyle change for an entire continent, right? But for the Holocaust victims, it was a genocide, general genocide. Like, look, we're just gonna wipe you out. We could care less what you do. We don't care what you can do for us. We don't care what you can accomplish for us. We just want to wipe you out for who you are or for what you are and end your existence completely with no prejudice. Just end it. So there's no chance of survival for the most part. They experiment on the rest of them. It was ridiculously just atrocious from start to finish. So it's one of those things where people have to understand that these things are, although they don't match, they also have the same, but they have the same effect, right? Because it causes you to do one of two things. You're either gonna away and try to excel above it, or you're gonna be so affected by it that you're gonna go down and lose what you have, right? And as a great people, both races were great. I mean, you know, Jews had a great thing going everywhere. Africans had a great thing going where they were. The thing is that, you know, bringing us over here pretty much killed us as a culture. But it also spawned a greater thing that we can build upon, right? Same thing for them as Jews is that it killed an entire race of people, a portion of their race. But they were able to say, look, we can build up from this. We can take this downturn in our history and build up and excel from this. You know, not make the most of it, but make the most of it. You know what I mean? So we went two different directions. I mean, we're probably again one of the only races where things like this, these atrocities happen, and we didn't 100% fall from it, but we didn't 100% recover from it either, right? So we went two different directions in two different groups. You know, we have people who have excelled. I mean, I look at it from my point of view, where I look at my family members, and I got an even greater realization today when some people are talking about the fact that some of us took advantage of our situation and said, I'm going to do better than what I saw. And then there's certain people who were probably geniuses in their own right, but then they failed, right? They still fail. I think it was Russell Simmons was in a conversation with one of our leaders, and he said that some of the people in our own families, they are probably smarter than us as professionals, as corporate professionals. They're smarter than us, but they ended up in jail, right? And I thought about it. I have a cousin that's in federal prison right now. That man is a excuse my language, he's a fucking genius. This young man, he's 5 years older than me, and I can guarantee you he could run a Fortune 500 company with just the pure sense of business sense that he has innate in him. The ability to lead, and the ability to motivate, and the ability to see into the future that he has. He could run a Fortune 500 company, but he chose the wrong path and ended him up in federal prison. Where I'm good at what I do. I definitely don't take away from myself. I'm good at what I do, but I don't have that ability. I don't even want to be an executive leader in the company I live in today, or I work in today, because I know my limitations. I know where I belong. I know what I want to do with my life. The thing is, I don't want to be executive leader. I want to do what I do, right? And I do. I'm an engineer. I'm very smart. I'm very accomplished. I'm an expert in my own right. But the thing is that I could never run a Fortune 500 company. But that was the path that I took, where I was able to do what I do, and I was able to stay on the straight and narrow and be able to be professional, to be successful in a business sense, in a social sense, and make money and be, have a family that's proud of me. But the thing is that I'm not as smart as him. I'm not I'm not the expert that he is at business. And the thing is, it was the path that we chose, right? And I think that people don't realize that it's all about the choices that we make sometimes. It's not about where we come from. It's not about where our people have gone, and that's one thing that.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask J-Ro this. Now, we had this discussion before about black people when we was like, you know what I mean, we're not all the same. You know what I mean? It's like we talk about black culture, but within black culture, you know what I mean, there are a lot of it's a split. You see what I'm saying? Like back in the day during the civil rights movement, it wasn't always, you know what I mean, kumbaya, you know what I mean, let's march. You had the Black Panthers, you had the Nation of Islam, you had, you know what I mean, the preachers with guns, all this type different, you know what I mean, it was different elements. And back then to let you know that not all black people thought alike. Not all black people was on the same wavelength with Martin or on the same wavelength with Malcolm. Now, in today's, you know, it's like in today's time, it's a split too. You got like the middle class to wealthy black folk, and you got the, you know, the poor. Do you think, you know what I mean, the use of the N-word or racism has a different effect on each party, or is it the same?
I think they have an effect on each party. As you say, I mean, you have different classes. You got the poor, you got the middle class. Everybody's going to see everybody differently. They have their own different opinions. Like, if you look at the middle class, when it comes to racism, it's definitely a difference. I mean, they're going to see things differently. They have a better not better understanding, but their thinking and their rationale is a little bit different because they don't have to deal with being in the hood or being around the ghetto with everybody else, and they're going to see people who are less than them differently. So yes, racism is going to hit them different than somebody who is out here struggling in the lower class. That it goes both ways. Somebody in the lower class is going to be not necessarily racist, but they're going to have some type of ill will or some type of different type of feelings for somebody of a higher class. And the same way goes for a higher class person. They're going to have some things that they're not going to like about a lower class person and different opinions about how they do things or how they see things.
You know what's funny? I don't know if you guys watch Empire, but it was a scene where Terrence Howard had all three of his sons into this band, and they were riding around because he felt like they didn't realize that they were black because they were raised with everything given to them. So he took them to the ghetto. And like basically told them that he basically thinks that they're soft because they don't realize that they're ghetto. Because of the last episode, Andre was at his house in a suburban area, a suburb type of area. He was moving out his thing because his wife got killed. He was moving out the house, and the cop stopped him, asked him what he was doing. He said, "I live here." "Oh, you don't live here." And they basically slammed him on the ground and locked him up. And Lucius was trying to, Howard's character was trying to tell his son, like, "Oh, we'll help you. We'll get somebody to handle this." And he was like, "No, I'm an educated person. I can do it myself." He found out once he got to court it was not that way. Basically, he just was another black person in front of the judge, and XYZ had trumped up the charges on him. So I kind of disagree with. I said that to say that I kind of disagree with J-Ro because I think that sometimes when black people are raised a different way than necessarily in the hood or the ghetto, they're not used to certain type of things, or maybe they are more so because they're probably the only black person in the neighborhood, and they probably got a lot of stuff going on as they grew up until they got older, became an athlete, or became successful in whatever type of business they were successful in. But at the same time, at the end of the day, you're still a black man or a black woman, so you're treated a certain way. And I don't think it hits them until somebody catches them off guard and they're like, wow. Or, you know, something like that because they're not used to it. They're used to being accepted, and all of a sudden somebody say something racist to them, and then they open out shade. Like, can't be said to me. It's like, no, you have to understand that even though you're successful, even though you're making this type of money, somebody can still call you the N-word, and you'll still feel some type of way about it because at the end of the day, you still are black or African American. It doesn't matter. So I don't think that it's a separate thing where the middle class will be less affected than the lower class. I think it's no matter what happens if you're a black person, if you're ever faced with racism, it's like a slap in the face. No matter how much money you make, you still could deal with racism. You still could deal with racist people. You could still be called any type of N-word or looked down upon. It doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, if you're a black person, any type of successful business, you have to work 10 times harder to be even taken seriously. Right. And even in 2016, that's still relevant, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm in corporate. I'm in corporate America right now, and after growing up in the hood and realizing our quote unquote place, and then having to get into a situation where I have to work 2 to 3 times harder than my white counterparts or even some other races, and to be able to be seen, it's real, And
yeah.
that's the realization that I had, right? Beyond the fact that when I was growing up in the hood, I was treated differently because I was in the hood. But the thing that I'm having a conversation with a young man today, he's like, I believe he was in his mid to late 20s, and he was saying how he didn't really feel racism or that he was in a racist society until he went down south, and because he was from Canada, so he was in dreamland already, so he was in paradise already. So he goes down to Georgia, or I think it was in Georgia because he went to Atlanta. So he goes to Georgia. He gets in Georgia, and he's literally treated with the same animosity that I've seen in Howell and Brighton, and that people have seen down south for years, and all that kind of thing. And he finally felt it, and that's when it got real for him. He's like just out of college, 22, 23, just feeling that. He had lived in this area in Canada where, in Canada, most of the Jamaicans and people who are islanders, they migrated up there, so they have a nice population. People in Canada are generally not as racist as people in other countries. So he had a very, I would say, sheltered existence. He gets down there and realizes that racism is real. Racism is still going around today, and that people still have a hostility towards black people, that white people have a hostility towards black people. And I think it's that realization that you are sheltered, or that you're living in a situation that doesn't reveal itself, right? And when you get in that situation, you gotta figure out how to work with it, or how to deal with it. Do you go off? Do you bury your head in the sand? What do you do, right? And for him, that was the wake up call that it was real out here.
Yeah.
For me, as a young, literally, I had to have been 7 or 8 years old. No, I take it back. I had to have been 5 or 6 years old, and I was in the car with I was in the car with some cousins of mine, and we were stopped by police. I mean, my cousins were up to no good, but we were in a car, and the police stopped us and, pretty much harassed us. They called us all kinds of names, called us all kinds of, saying the N-word with the GA was just normal in my neighborhood, so that wasn't a big deal to me. But just being treated like trash, treated like garbage. It was something that even at that young age, I could pick up on what was happening, what was going on, and knowing that there was a certain set of people who felt like we were less than human, and that was my realization at that young of an age. And then it happened again when I was in my teen years, to see that kind of thing. And I had thought, between that time as being a young man, and I moved on from that, and I was living in still in the city, but city of Detroit, but I was in a better area, and I felt like we had risen above that, right? 10 years later, and I was pulled aside by state police and local police in Brighton, Michigan, which is a heavy KKK area, and treated like I was a criminal. When I had more money than most of the people in that room, and they treated me like a criminal because of my skin, right? And that was another realization for me. Like, look, no matter how much money you have in your pocket, no matter how much you stay on the straight and narrow, no matter how much you think you're doing the right thing, people will still treat you a certain way because of the color of your skin. And that was my realization that it was still real out here, that we still had a struggle to get beyond, pre-Obama, but still, it was still a time that I thought we had risen above that, but we hadn't, of course.
Let me interject real quick. We got 5 minutes left in the show before our after show begins. If listeners still out there want to call in and chime in, our phone number is 657-383-1155. That's 657-383-1155. And to Willie's point, with coming to a realization that racism is alive and well, to bring it all the way back to the beginning about how this topic started, for us is with the white officer, the white female officer, using the word nigger and a caption on the picture. My thing is, that's the perfect reason why she should be fired, is because the climate, you feel me, and we know that racism is still alive and well. So either she can perpetuate peace or perpetuate ignorance. And with that picture and with her job, you feel me, she can't perpetuate ignorance. She got to be held to a higher standard. So when she uses that word, somebody in her position, in my opinion, it don't matter, you feel me, it does matter about race, cause like we said, if it was a black female, she wouldn't have got that harsh of a reprimand. But when you in that position, you can't put yourself in that position. You feel me? With all the hostility going on and the tension between the police and the public at this point, especially the black public. And I just feel as though that word, that N-word, it means different things to different people. There's no way we can, you feel me, tell everybody to stop using it, especially when it's in all the music, the comedy shows, movies. Everywhere you turn, the word is there. So I don't think it's going nowhere. I think in time more people actually going to get comfortable using it, because it's happening now. More people get comfortable using it that's non-black.
Right.
Right.
You feel me? When they buy themselves, mostly, the most consumers of hip-hop, rap music is white people.
Right, exactly.
You feel me? They're the number one consumers of rap music. So, I was in a position where I was in the car and there was a white girl in the back seat and Jigga, my nigga, and she just singing it like it ain't nothing. And I had to check her like, yo, like, what do you know what I mean? Like, you real comfortable using that word. And she ain't grow up in the hood and none of that. She was from suburbs. You know what I mean? So it's at a point now to where everybody is getting more and more comfortable using the word, and I don't think it's going nowhere. I just think, you know what I mean, it's just going to get worse.
Like you say, we have to be conscious of what we're doing, what we're using it for, and why, right? And that's the thing. People like that in that situation, in power or in a certain job, they need to be conscious.
Yeah. I just think right now, even you listen to the radio, some of the songs that were verses just bleeped out, they in there.
Right.
Like you see these shows, half these shows got sexual situations where you like I said, the shows ain't safe no more. So at this point, everything's just getting let go. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's just one day you hear on the radio and they just just going at it. You're sitting there like, what? So this is what's happening now? Like this is just acceptable. I mean, it's just getting out of hand right now.
Exactly. Well, it is 11 o'clock. We're heading into our after show. Actually, it's 10:59. Excuse me. Heading into our after show, and I know we wanted to bring up. I know y'all had a conversation last week that I missed, that I wish I was a part of.
No, we can do that now.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to bring up about dreads in the workplace. Now, somebody explain to me what was the issue, Cause you talk, you know what I mean? It's a dread head right here, so.
That's what I was saying. We got to get Clint's opinion because Clint got dread.
You know what I mean? Like.
But it basically, Willie, you want to tell him?
So basically, you know, the court system in, I believe it was in California, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sorry, I might be ignorant to that fact of where it was exactly. But basically, there was a state court system that said that it was acceptable for a corporate business to discriminate. Well, I won't say discriminate because that's not the wording, but essentially they could have restrictive language in their policies to disallow the wearing of dreadlocks in the workplace. So the business wanted to say that dreadlocks in the workplace were unacceptable. There was a young lady in that business that had dreadlocks or had some type of lock hairstyle, and they wanted to exclude that hairstyle from their dress code. She lost that battle, that legal battle, and it created an entire situation where it was determined that this would be the beginning of more restrictive language in corporate policies for dress codes, as well as against certain individuals or certain groups, right? So, because we know as a group, dreadlocks are it is a black thing, right? So that was the total issue behind it.
See, my issue with that is, you know what I mean? First of all, like you said, it's racially biased because dreadlocks are normally worn by people of color. First of all, so you know you don't restrict any other race how they can wear their hair because their hair is similar to yours. You see what I'm saying? Now we got a different type of texture hair, so we gotta get penalized. We gotta get penalized, have our hair a certain way to appease you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Who are you that for us to appease about how our hair is supposed to look? You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we talk about hair. You know what I mean? We ain't talking about, you know what I mean, nothing major. We're talking about hair. So if it comes down to that she had to lose her job because of her hairstyle, you know what I mean, I call BS on that.
Right.
You feel me?
And my thing being in corporate America, my thing is I generally accept corporate businesses and businesses in general that decide on a certain dress code. I generally accept what they consider to be their quote unquote their norms, right? Because they do have to maintain a certain image that they want to maintain. But the problem I have with this particular court decision was because in the proceedings they determined that, or not even determined, the business itself made the determination based on the fact that they generalized locks, right? They said that locks in general, not that this young lady's locks, but this in general, they claimed that they could get messy. That was their term. That was their words, their verbiage behind the reasoning for exclusionary practices against locks. They said because in general locks can get messy, and it's like how do you generalize something to a point where not to say, you know, this is how I would have been more comfortable. A ponytail can get messy. Look, if you have locks, the locks need to be either clean, or they need to be tied up, or they need to be a certain, I won't say length, but you know what I mean. Let's say they have some kind of restrictive content towards the locks to say, you know, they just want to make sure that they're not messy or whatever they want to generalize it as. But to say that they're going to exclude all locks because they could possibly get messy, that's ridiculous. Because the thing is, like, even in my job, I mean, we have I talk about the company I work for on this show, but I work for a company that has hundreds of thousands of employees, and if we excluded locks, we'd have people who have beautiful locks. I mean, I was just in a meeting with all these black people who have these beautiful locks that are definitely not messy by any means. I mean, their hair may look better than mine, or maybe look better than their Caucasian counterparts because of the fact that they take such good care of their locks. It has nothing to do with a generalization. It has more to do with a look, right, and or a style. So it's like if they are able to keep us looking as beautiful as they do, why exclude them? They're doing their job. They're making progress in their businesses, or they're making progress in their projects, in their department, and they're being successful. You're losing out by excluding these people because of the fact that they have a certain hairstyle. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I'm like, my standpoint on this one is like, okay, so what's next? You tell people what kind of hairstyle they have, what's going to follow next. Dress code, I understand that. You're going to tell somebody how to wear their hair. So after that, what you going to tell them? What type of shoes? Like not shoes, but like this stupid shit.
Exactly, stupid shit. Exactly. No, you're right. You're right, Sonny.
You can't wear an orange purse. Like, you don't shut up.
I think the thing came down to it being racial discrimination when it came down to the dreadlocks in the workplace. And the court said that it wasn't racial discrimination. That's what the appeals court said. I think that's what the whole case came down to, it being racial discrimination. And like Willie was saying, they've said that it was they banned them because they tend to look messy or get messy, and that was the quote. And that just doesn't even make any sense. Like, it honestly doesn't make any sense that you could sit here and tell somebody they can't have dreadlocks because they tend to get messy. Anybody's hair can tend to get messy. I mean, facial hair gets messy, beards, mustaches, like Clint was saying, ponytails, anything and everything. When it comes down to it, that's not kept up properly is going to get messy. And it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're black, white. I've seen black people with dreads. I've seen white people with dreads. Like Willie was saying, I mean, there's people out there with some beautiful locks. As long as you keep them keep them nice and neat and clean, it really shouldn't have an effect on your work performance. Just like Sarita was just saying, like bans on dress code. I really don't agree with dress codes at the workplace. I mean, if you have an office job or no matter what job it is, I mean, as long as you're not coming there with no bikinis and T-shirts and some stretch pants on, then that really shouldn't matter what you wear to work.
Yeah. I think dress code should be good because I know in my building, I see girls now. I work for the state. You see girls coming in looking like they're going to the club. Like, I need you to understand that you're at work. Like,
no, I get dress code to a certain extent.
But ours is like business casual. You should know how to dress for work. You should know what's appropriate for work. You should also know what not to wear to work. But in this society, people think a lot of things are acceptable, and it's not. And so you have to have certain things in place, and that's why we started having dress codes in place because people just it wasn't something right saying that you can't wear a short skirt like a mini skirt to work. So you have to put that in place because if you address somebody that wears something that's not appropriate to work, it has to be something written down saying that they can't wear that. So that's where the rules fall, and that's why a lot of workplaces now have dress codes because, I work for labor. So we have to put the standards in because at the end of the day, somebody can go to their CWA or their unions and complain like this is not in any type of wording saying that I can't wear this. And then it's like, oh, yeah, it's not, so you can wear it because it's not written down. So that's why dress codes come in, but I just think that that's where the line is drawn, dress codes only.
Yeah, well, and this is my thing, too, is that when you start to get so specific to the point of excluding an entire race of people or culture of people based on your dress code, I mean, it's one thing to say we want people to conform to a certain look or a certain sensibility when it comes to what you're wearing, because you're talking about sensibilities at that point. Because some people don't understand what business casuals mean. And the thing is that you have to outline for them what's sensible and what's acceptable. The thing is, if when you start to exclude people to the point of excluding an entire race or an entire culture based on those sensibilities, that's when you have a problem. That's when you're going too far. Saying that you should wear closed-toed shoes versus sandals versus have your hair a certain style. I mean, a style, that's over the top. You're going way too far at that point because,
I applied to a job. I was looking for a part-time job at one point a while ago, and I applied to Radio Shack. You feel me? And the lady there told me the same thing. She was like, I would have to cut my hair.
Mm-hmm.
I said, are you serious? I said, I don't even want this job now. I said, y'all pay, you know what I mean? Y'all minimum wage. Y'all talking about I got to cut my hair for a minimum wage job? You serious? Like, no, it ain't that deep. It ain't that deep for me. You feel me? Like,
yeah.
I mean, in my company, I mean, we're business professionals, and we are allowed to we're allowed to wear locks, and you know, to think that, like you said, a minimum wage job doesn't allow it, that's ridiculous to me, because I mean, that shows you the ignorance behind that. Because I mean, if I can make, you know, $90,000 to $150,000 a year, but you're gonna tell me I can't make $625 or $725, whatever it is now, to wear locks? No, bro, you can't tell me that. That's ridiculous. There's nowhere in the world you're gonna tell me a man can walk up in here and make 17 times more money than me, and he's got locks on, but I can't wear locks? Forget that. I'm about to put some locks in my hair and go make that money.
No, and it's funny because it's this lady at my job. I've never seen it. I've been at my job for quite a while, and I've seen this lady that recently got hired. She is in full Muslim garb. I've never seen it in my job before, and it was crazy because, you know, you when you don't see something like that ever, and then you see it, it's like, you know, I've never seen it. So I don't know if it's any other Muslim women in our job, but, you know, now I see them with the head wrap, but not the full outfit. And it's one lady at my job has it on that's what she wears. And I'm just like, I'm happy for her, because what if they excluded that? What if they said, you know, you can't wear that?
There's been companies that have tried to do it. They've tried to exclude it too. And they're like, I mean, that's just a head wrap. And it's like, bro, like you cannot tell the people that their religious background is built on that they can't wear stuff like that. It's like, really? Like you going too far. Going too far. And that was the thing with the dreadlocks. I mean, dreadlocks it is a hairstyle for certain people, but it's also a way of life for certain people's religion. And if you Rastafarian, that's part of your religion, is wearing those locks. You know, that's part of your heritage, right? So you can't a Rastafarian to cut his hair. That's ridiculous. You know, that's like telling the Orthodox Jew to cut his beard. I mean, you can't tell that Jew to do that. That's ridiculous. You know, or telling I forgot what they're called, but the ones that wear the hats, the little hats behind the head. You can't tell them to take the hat off. You know, like that's just going too far with it. You know, so telling a person that they can't wear their locks, no, that's going too far.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, like, what's next after that, you know?
Exactly. You know, I'm telling you, I can't live in the hood. I can't live, you know, I can't have customers that do blah, blah, blah. No, you can't tell me that. No.
No, you can't drive a caddy with rims on it like that, because that's not good for companies to be parking the car like what?
Well, let me ask y'all this real quick, though, because they do judge people, certain jobs, like they'll check your credit score, or, you know what I mean, stuff like that.
Wow. Okay, so there's a double-edged sword to that one. There's a double-edged sword. I at one point I was so against that, about checking credit scores, but then when I was working in I'm sorry, I'm gonna get it together. I was working in finance. It was mortgages, but it was finance. I was working in finance, and they explained the reasoning behind you can't have a loan officer or adjuster doing money transactions and they have issues with their own credit. The thing was, it was about, one, it was about perception, but then also, two, it was about management, right? Because how are you going to manage other people's money and you can't manage your own? So there was that double-edged sword, right? Because it got down to how do you justify being a money manager with bad credit, but you got to manage somebody else's money. You really can't justify that. So
I got to get a job.
it was a hard lesson to learn. It was, but I mean, I can't argue with that. I can't argue with that reasoning, that thought process.
You ever heard the phrase? You ever heard the phrase of, like, I wish I could take my own advice?
I agree with you there too, because
you feel me? Because some people don't know how to take their own advice, but they can get some hell of advice, some hell of a good advice.
Good advice. I'm going to give you a perfect example. My sister is a therapist, and she's the perfect relationship therapist. She's perfect. I mean, this woman gives the best relationship advice. She's a awesome marriage counselor. She's an awesome relationship therapist. The thing is that her relationship history is horrible. She had the perfect relationship for her to save her life. I mean, if you put a gun to her head, she would be dead because her relationship sucks. But she knows how to tell you how to have the best relationships in the world. I mean, she will put you on the path, you and your partner. She'll put y'all on a path to so much success as a husband and wife, or as a boyfriend and girlfriend, whatever the case may be. She will put you on the right path. But she can't do it for herself to save her life because she can't follow her own sage advice. But it's the double-edged sword, though, right? Because certain companies will just say, look, no, we're just not going to allow it. We can't have you, having, a 625 on your credit score, and then you're trying to tell people with 850s how to run their life. We're just not going to allow you to do that.
Well, I got denied a job due to I got a job interview before I started working for the state. I got a job interview with Credit Union of New Jersey out in Lyon. I hopped on the bus, went out there, was excited about it. I had a bomb interview. The lady loves me. She said you have to bring your credit to see if you'll be able to get the job, but we want you. The downfall was I didn't get the job. Plus side was I found out there's a lot of shit in my name since I was a child. I was like, wait a minute. I found out I had Comcast back on the street that I was a toddler. I'm like, wait a minute, what? I had a different last name than my mama. Yeah, because I had a different last name than my mama. So, she used all the Kelly, couldn't do them no more, then got my last name and ran with it. And then I found out I had to tell my mom, like, listen, you just got me. I couldn't get a job. Like, I had questions. But I think in certain jobs, yes, they should look at that, especially like with financing or banking and stuff like that. But I don't think anybody else, like, depending on what type of job it is, I understand it. Some jobs, what are you doing? Why do you need to know that?
Right. Yeah, when I applied for a job to do some kind of I was doing data entry or something like that. I mean, it was for a mortgage company, but it was or insurance company rather. It was just for an insurance company, but still, I was doing data entry. I'm like, why do you need to check my credit? Like, really? Like, how does that affect my job performance? I'm a great typist. I'm a great analytics person, but it has nothing to do with the fact that I might have bad credit. What does that have to do with it? Yeah, you're right. It's. I mean, corporate America wants everybody to conform to certain, and sometimes that standard doesn't go across the board. It just doesn't, and it's sad, and it's exclusionary. But it is what it is, right? And at some point, I just think at some point we have to cut it off. We have to say, look, you can exclude up to a point. You can't exclude everybody just because you want white America to be the only ones getting jobs in this situation. You have to allow other people to be able to get up in here. So it's ridiculous.
That's why we got to start creating our own job.
True.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
It's winding down. I'd like to thank the people that was listening in. You feel me? We had a great discussion tonight. Talk about the use of the N-word, who can use it, the power behind it. We talked about, of course, where not being able to wear your dreads at work, which is, that still irking me real as I think about it. Like that's crazy. Yeah. But we like to give everybody their chance to let people know how they can contact them. Willie, you want to go first, big bro?
Yes, sir. Styles with a Z is STYLEZ. At Willie Styles at Twitter, at Willie Styles at Facebook, at Willie Styles on Instagram. I'm Willie.Styles on Snapchat now. AskWillieStyles.com is my blog. StylesRadio.com is my music blog. Get at me. I'm in the streets.
J-Ro.
Just a simple Google J-Ro everywhere. J-R-O. Find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat. just like that.
Easy. Sonny.
Well, I don't have a Snapchat and don't want one, but you can definitely follow my what am I about to say, podcast? My blog, unreservedlyme.wordpress.com. I am Sunny_D on Instagram and Twitter, and yeah, stalk me. I'm everywhere.
Yes, ma'am. Now y'all can hit me up at thekingstruth.com. That's my blog. You can hit me on Twitter at eTrentonGrooming. Instagram Clint Black BLAQ. Hit me up on Snapchat at King's Truth. I'm everywhere. I'm on all the sites. I'm a social media whore. I'm out here.
Oh, and thanks to Jay Rowe, we now have an Instagram since he was saying that last week, guys. We do have an Instagram for our for the podcast, GFT_radio, the same as our Twitter, which is GFT_radio. Follow us on YouTube, GFT Radio. You can type in GFT Radio on Google and you'll find pretty much all of our sites. But if you want to find every link that we have, go on our website, gftradioshow.com.
And that's what it is. And that's all, folks. Catch us next Thursday, 10 p.m.
Yes. No, Clint, you got to say see you in 7 days.
See y'all in 7 days.
See you in 7.
All right, boy.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
All right.
Peace.
Record better audio anywhere with Motive digital microphones from Shure. Easy-to-use options like the MV88 plug directly into your phone or computer and include a free app. Create studio-quality sound for podcasts, music, and videos. Visit Shure.com to learn more.